Hey there everybody, how's it going? Nice to see you again. What's happening? So the nights are getting a little cooler. It's down in the 40s, 50s, but you can feel it. It's a little cooler, but the days are still clear blue skies, 95 degrees, smoky when it's smoky, and yeah, and I'm sure that there's photographs out there, but they don't spark my interest. In other words, like, the things that I want to photograph don't line up with those kinds of conditions, at least right now. Right now I'm into, like, I want cloudy weather and foggy weather and that kind of thing for the black and white stuff that I'd like to do. But the good news is that weather is coming, and it's in the forecast. And the next couple of weeks, sometime around the middle of September, things should start changing. So I've got a couple of books for you today. Number one, Michael Kenna came out with the second printing of his photographs and stories, and it's I don't know if you can see this, but it's got like a fabric, sparkly satin blue cover, and it's just gorgeous, and yeah, so absolutely beautiful book. And because I've been getting into printing my own book, this Michael Kenna book is available from Nazarelli Press. There's 3,000 copies available. They may be sold out, I don't know, as of now, but they may not be too. So I picked this up like a couple of weeks ago, so they may still be available. Absolutely stunningly beautiful book. This is printed in China, and what's interesting about that is if I were to print this with these specifications in the USA, like my book, to this level of quality with the gold and the blue satin and the sparkly and all the rest of it, this had cost me 3,000 copies. It cost me at least $100, $150 a piece. So he's only selling these. Well, Nazarelli Press is selling these for $75. So clearly, the Chinese are able to print these a lot cheaper, which is interesting. But gorgeous book, and it's available. As with all things Michael Kenna, soon to be a collector's item. Highly recommended, though. Really beautiful book. It's kind of like Michael Kenna's greatest hits, which is kind of what I did, but to a much lesser extent. But this is printed in the USA. This is I called my book A Painter Passing Through, and there it is. So this is the proof copy, and I want to change a few things, and obviously, and like so. I'm doing a great job holding it up. But anyway, you get the idea. There it is. It's actually, I've got one copy. Well, actually, I've got three copies because I proofed it a second time, but I still want to change some stuff. This was proof of concept. So this was proof of concept, and those were proofs, but I want to go in a little bit different direction, and I think. So not yet, but soon. So the book has got me really thinking about, because it's a retrospective, it goes back to 1991, I think, is the earliest photograph in there. And there's film and there's digital and all the cameras that I shot with, and, seeing all the work. And basically the bottom line comes down to film is film, digital is digital. And somewhere around 12 megapixels digital sensors, like, it all looks the same. Some sensors were better than others, so there is that. But having said all that, and then being sensitive to that and watching videos the past couple of weeks, I find it interesting. Like, for example, let's take Andy Mumford as a good example. He shoots with the Fuji XF, the X-T5 and the XS10, and he shot with the X-T3 and the X-T4, etc. So APS-C Fuji. And then he added a few years back a Fuji GFX 100S, and he shot with that last year. Now this year he has a new video, What's in My Bag, and he's going to places where he has to do some hiking, and like the GFX system's right out, right? So he's backed up to the APS-C Fujis, and he's perfectly fine with that. And So in Andy's case, I think it's fair to say, like, the GFX is a nice to have. It's not a need to have. Fair enough. I mean, in aviation we have a saying: there's need to know, nice to know, trivia, and BS. And so, but my point is for Andy, like his GFX system isn't an absolutely he has to bring it at all costs kind of a system. He's perfectly fine backing up to the APS-C and using it as his main cameras. Okay, that's a data point of one. And then there's Thomas Heaton. Recently, he shoots with the Nikon Z8, and I would argue that's not the greatest landscape camera in the world. It's a great camera for what it is, but in terms of specific landscape attributes, I don't think it's there. You don't need all the speed, and you're sacrificing weight and size and cost to get that speed. Anyway, but the point is it's still a great camera, and it's perfectly suitable for landscapes as well if you don't mind carrying it around. Having said that, evidently Thomas does mind carrying it around, because when he, a couple of weeks back, he did a video where he did a loop in the Swiss Alps where he hurt his knee. But he was perfectly fine bringing his X-T4 26 megapixel APS-C camera to do his landscapes with as his only landscape camera and his video camera. So, even though he has a Z8, again, that's a nice to have camera. It's not a need to have camera, right? I mean, evidently the X-T4 26 megapixel Fuji is good enough for him to bring that along as his sole photography camera. So that's interesting. And then there's Photo Tripper. I mean, he's got, $20,000 Hasselblad medium format. He's got Sony A1 and his Sony cameras. And he made a whole bunch of videos where he's photographing these icebergs from his drone. And his drone is a 1-inch sensor drone, which is smaller than APS-C. And he's perfectly fine using those images in his books online, making prints, selling prints, whatever. So, is his Hasselblad, I mean, again, Hasselblad's nice to have, but the lowest common denominator that produces acceptable work for him is a 1-inch sensor in his drone. Okay. And then there's Ian Worth, and Ian Worth Ian Worth shoots Fuji X-H2 for all of his work, and he's tested it against Canon R5, and he was fine with it. He didn't switch. He was perfectly happy continuing on with his X-H2. So the point that I'm trying to make is, even though a lot of these YouTube influencers who have 100,000 or 200,000 or 500,000 subscribers, even though they will in some ways pretend that they're shooting, that they have to have the medium format or the full frame cameras, and they have them because they have the money to spend. And I'm not against spending money. If you've got it, flaunt it. If you've got it, spend it. Life's short. If you've got it and you can afford it, you have all the fun you want. I totally get that. But what I'm on about is, what do you really need? There's a difference between need and want, and there's a difference between need to have and nice to have. Okay? And I think in all these instances, smaller formats get the job done. Right? You don't need full frame. You don't need medium format. AOWS, Adrian, on his channel, is another example in the sense that, like, he shoots Sony full frame, and he likes it. And I tell you, you shoot the camera you love. I mean, I get that. Shoot the camera you like. But he's also happy backing up to the Z100, what is it? The little compact Z107. ZV-107, those little compact I think they're 1-inch sensor Sonys, and he's made a couple of videos where he'll use that for his walk around, And honestly, looking at his work, you can't really see any difference between when you can't tell. He doesn't tell you, but you can't tell also when he's used the compact camera versus when he's used his full frame 42 megapixel Sony. So yeah, and in doing the prints for my book and in the printing that I've done, when you're pixel peeping on your screen at 200 or 300%, you can definitely see a difference between APS-C and full frame. Okay, there's no question about it. But for all practical applications, for printing and for making a book and for illustrating YouTube videos and for anything that most of us use our photography for, even making fine art prints, which for me is the pinnacle of what I do, you know, the APS-C is just fine. So just something to think about. And the photographs in the beginning and the end of this video are a mixture of everything. And you can't tell the difference. I mean, I'd have to tell you what I took what with, because you wouldn't be able to tell. And that, I think, tells it all. So, all right, looking forward to getting out in the field and actually doing some photography instead of sitting around thinking about it and looking at other people's photography in books and online, because it's the middle of summer and the weather is just not inspiring, at least to me. So there you go. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and we'll see you out there. Have a great one.